Welcome to D.I.Y. Automotive School with my friend Pete and Minnie, the body shop girl. It's everything you need to know about cars and more.
Alright, so I started removing the taillight panel and we kind of found out how they put it together. If you look right here, I'll go ahead and bend that, you can see while I'm doing that, this is actually the original panel right here. So what they did is they cut this section out right here and then they pretty much went up about an inch or two, and then they spot welded it onto the original panel, and then they bondoed it up. So what we're going to do is we are going to remove the whole panel all the way down. So let me get this piece off first, then we'll start working on this piece. And I can tell that this repair was done many, many years ago because, let me get this up and I'll show you. If you look right there, you can see the brass. They used a brazing rod and a torch to replace this piece with. So that's actually off a junkyard car, probably, that they found in the junkyard somewhere. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and remove the rest of this section right here. I'm going to bring it straight down just like this. I'm going to get my tape. You can see I got a nice straight line going already. And then we'll make a straight line here to remove this section out. Remember all them spot welds I was telling you about? Let me get my little grinder and see what we got underneath all that Bondo to look at the spot welds. So what we're looking at here is, let's take a closer look and see what kind of spot weld action we got right here. And if you look right there, everywhere that you see a dimple in the metal where the grinder didn't hit it, that is a spot weld. Those are all spot welds that have to be removed. All these are spot welds that you're looking at. There's another one, okay. And on this particular job right here, I'm probably going to get me a 5/16 or a 1/4 inch drill bit and drill those ones out rather than use my, yeah, you got the idea, grinder. We got a bunch of welds going down here we got to get out, and then of course all the welds up under here. So I'm going to go ahead and get that done, and when we come back we'll have that piece removed and start replacing our taillight panel. And all this is led into the quarter panel. I just want to turn around there and show you that all the work that we are doing right now as you're watching is all related to a quarter panel replacement. So you don't know what you're going to get into until you literally cut it open and find out and see where all the damage is. So just because your quarter panel needs replaced doesn't mean that's all that needs replaced. So watch, listen, and learn. We're going to make this job as easy as possible that we can to get her done and do it right. Okay, we're on to our quarter panel. I went ahead and removed our tail light section piece that we're going to be using. We're going to leave it sitting in the trunk along with our inner fender well that's ready to install. We still got to do, like I said, some preparations on that to install it, but we can't do that until we actually get the quarter panel on. So I came over here. Now my first opinion on replacing this, since we have a big gap right here, I want to show you that gap. All right, look how big the gap is on that. That, once again, is factory. That's a factory gap, but I want to show you, if you didn't pay attention, look how easy the door shuts. my first impression was to literally cut the inside of this right here, because I don't want to remove this, some people call it a B-pillar, I call it a door jamb, striker plate, whatever. I don't want to remove that because that's really going to screw us up. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to replace it right to this line right here. All right, but to be on the safe side, when I cut my quarter panel, I'm going to go ahead and cut it on the inside right here. That way, once again, we're going to be on the safe side, and it's going to give me more than enough meat that I need in case something screws up. And then after further investigation of our window opening here, I believe I'm going to go ahead and replace this section here. This is actually part of that quarter panel. And so we're going to come up here like this, and we'll cut that off right there. That way we'll have this whole section to play with. And then if you look real close here, I went to the drip rail right here where the drip rail is, and I went straight across, okay? You see how I did that? Just a straight run, and I went all the way into there. And then whatever this measurement is, I'll go ahead and add approximately 1 more inch to it, and then we'll cut that off right before this. We want to keep this. We want to keep this factory. We do not want to lose that. That's very, very important when restoring these old cars, that you got to keep all this factory appearance of what the factory did if you are restoring this car back to factory OEM original. And then once we cut that off, then we'll be able to go ahead and measure our bottom down here. We got to measure that. We'll measure that out, cut that off, and then we should be able to fit this on here and then precisely measure it one more time and then cut it to fit. But we got to get rid of all this extra meat that's on this quarter panel over here that we're not going to use. All this has got to go, and then once we get another set of hands over here at SWRC, we'll be able to fit that on there precisely and get her done right. So before I cut this out, I want to just go over with you and show you where I'm going to cut it. Very simple and easy, but kind of complicated. Once again, this is a big jigsaw puzzle, but if you do one section at a time like I'm showing you to do here, it'll come out to be very easy. I'm going to cut this one off right here in this groove, get rid of this big old bulky meat here, and we're going to go ahead and add just about, I don't know, right here on this section here, because remember I said I was going to use this, but I want to go down a little closer, and then I'll bring it around like this. Okay, do you see how I'm doing that? And the only reason that I am putting yellow tape on this section here is to show you, the viewer, so you can see exactly what I'm doing. Alright, so we're going to have this whole section here. I came back approximately 3/4 to 1 inch. Alright, and then we'll fine-tune cut this to match up so it'll fit. So this section here, it's ready to cut. Then we got to figure out where are we going to cut it off right here. Remember I was telling you about our gutter drip rail section right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up past the gutter drip rail section, and then we're going to draw a line that goes straight down into this area right here. This is the area that I told you we need to keep. This is the section that is very important, that if you are going to restore one of these cars, it's very important not to replace that area right there, and that's where we'll be cutting it back. For right now though, just for measuring purposes, we're going to go ahead and start up here about 1/4 inch from our gutter rail area. We'll go up about 1/4 inch, and then we'll cut it straight across just like that. I'm going to show you what it's going to look like. Matter of fact, we might just cut it straight on this edge here because I don't want to keep that. So we'll bring it straight down here, and this is what it'll look like when we cut it. I'm going to take my tape. I'm going to go about 1/4 inch up or so past the gutter rail because we're not using this. Is the section we're not using. And then I'm going to take my tape, and you can see it's going to end up right in this corner. So before I cut anything and go any further, I want to go over there and see where the tape ends up on our quarter panel on the car. So this is where our tape ended up right here on the corner of the section that we're keeping. Let's go see where it ends up on the vehicle itself. And we started right here at the very bottom of our gutter rail, and it looks like the gutter drip rail section here is actually at the same length, if I look at it, as that lip that we were looking at. So I started 1/4 inch up, I went 1/4 inch up, then I came straight across, and it looks Wow, looky here. We're going to end up in the same, almost the same section, just the way that I measured it. And then I'm looking right here where my air chisel got away on me, and I'm saying that's pretty damn close. But on the other hand, I'm cutting it way up here. I'm not going to cut on the bottom of the line, I'm cutting on the top of the line. So if I cut it way up here, and then I come all the way down here, because we're not cutting this part, it's just this part, so it's actually going straight across and ending up right here. That still gives us enough meat where we get rid of this section here, but we still got all this meat to work with. And then we can come around and do that. So I'm going to cut on the top of this line here, and it's going to basically take this section out that we don't need and end up in the corner right here. So what I think I want to do is I want to go ahead and take my tape, and I actually want to end it like, I want to end this one like right there. And that's going to give us about an inch right here. And then of course we'll cut this off here. How y'all doing out there? How's your day been going? How has your life been going? How has everything been going? Hopefully it's been going really, really well, and you're not just having a good day, but you're having a good life, because that's really what it's all about. Even under circumstances like we got here, which is very frustrating and very mind-boggling. This is worse than putting a jigsaw puzzle together, because the jigsaw puzzle, you can actually gather all the pieces up, throw them back in the box, and get rid of the damn puzzle and put it away and never open the box again. But when you get involved in something like this, all right, when you get involved in a jigsaw puzzle such as this one, there is no turning back. You have got to finish what the fuck you started and basically get her done. So let's not stop here. Let's not give up, because guess what? We've done a lot of work already just tearing this thing down. We need to get her done. I told you that you had to have the deck lid installed on the vehicle to finish the job. The deck lid has got to be installed. If you do not have a deck lid, you need to stop immediately. Don't do anything else. Get a deck lid and install it. This car, once again, is a one-owner car, immaculate condition, and is a very good car for restoration. And the deck lid that I'm using is the factory deck lid that came on this vehicle. Let's go ahead and look at that and see what we're going to have to work with to line everything else up with. Now, before we go any further, I want everybody to look. This door has never been taken off this car. I want to show everybody once again how this door shuts. You can see that I got a very, very light hold on it, and it shuts perfect. But take a look at this factory door opening here. All right, it looks really, really good, but it's not perfect to the eyeball, but it's a factory door opening. You can see, look how close it is right here, and then it's got a little bit bigger gap here, and then, yeah. So that's our factory situation. Let's go look at our deck lid and see what the factory setup is on that. So here's our factory deck lid. This is the OEM factory NOS. No, it's not NOS, because NOS means new old stock. This is not brand new. This is a factory OEM, original equipment manufacturer, for anybody out there that didn't know what OEM meant. But if we come around here, let's look at that gap on the back. You can see that gap is almost perfect all the way down. Almost perfect. All right, but when we come around here, now we're seeing a real good gap on the bottom here, and it looks almost perfect. But when we get down here on this end, look what's going on. All right, look at this gap here as we come around the corner, and you get the idea what's going on here. This is our factory situation right here, and I'm going to show you this. I'm going to open the key up, and you can see that it is precisely and perfectly lined up with everything that's supposed to be lined up on the car itself. Let me show you how easy that thing shuts. Watch this. Okay, and it latches perfect and flawlessly. But being a factory OEM part, this is the situation we have. Now, it's not touching right here, it's not rubbing, okay, but that's how factory original equipment was back in the 60s, 50s, 40s, whatever. It's not like today when you go buy a brand new car, and I think a lot of people out there are confused with that. I think that everybody's so anal that they just have to find something to complain about when they come over to the door and say, oh yeah, who restored this? God, look at the door gap on that. What's going on? And then they make you stand there and explain to them for 3 hours that this is an original OEM car, the door's never been off the, and all this, and then they think you're a liar and a piece of shit, and, you're just the biggest scumbag at the fucking car show because they're standing around jealous because they don't have it, and they're just really literally going around your car finding flaws and mistakes in it so they can complain about a car that they wish they fucking had. That's basically the attitudes that you'll get out there in the world, that if it ain't perfect, guess what? You're a piece of shit. So, now that we got that story out of the way, and we know that this car is OEM factory original, and one owner, this, that, and the other, and we got documentation it has been wrecked in this corner, and we also went ahead and walked you through how to do a replacement on a partial quarter panel. Make sure you watch that video set. You're going to want to put both these video sets together if you're restoring an old classic car, and I'm going to show you how to do all that on the rear end of this car. So anyway, back to what we were talking about. You can see that I went ahead and I removed the old tail light section out of the vehicle. You can basically get a gander at all the spot welds that we had to ponder over before we went ahead and literally removed them. And then down here, it wasn't as bad as we thought. It only had several spot welds. So the spot welds on the very bottom of our panel wasn't really that intense compared to where our floor was spot welded to. Now, this is the section we want to look at right here. This is where our bumper bolts on. So when we do our measurements and we start calculating all of our angles and all our gaps and stuff, this is one of our main measuring points right here, because that's got to line up just like this side's lining up for our bumpers to bolt in. So that's a good reference point that we can use when we go ahead and start cutting this section out that we're going to use on our rear panel. And just to let everybody know that probably jumped in on this and didn't watch the beginning of this little video set, the reason we're going to put a section in there to explain it to you, the new viewer, is because we want to keep all these factory body lines here. And when you replace it with these old body lines, they never come out proper and they just look like total crap. So that's why we are doing it this way. And I think, and I believe, when we get done, it's going to be an awesome repair and you'll never be able to tell that it was even replaced. So if you remember correctly, when we first started all this on the back end, we actually took all our measurements from this section right here. And what we did is we measured from our edge over, which gave us, let me open that up, 35 inches. We're trying to keep everything even. So when we cut our other panel out, what we want to do is we don't want to go 35 inches. We want to go at least 34 inches. I'm sorry, it sounded like I was going to go more. I'm going less. The reason I'm going less is because if I went 36 inches, it's kind of obvious it's going to be too short. So we want to go back into it, and since we're taking all our measurements off here, and let me go ahead and measure that just to make sure. Okay, I fucked up. Do you see what happened there? I am glad that I checked my measurement on that because I screwed up. Okay, I measured from this quarter panel 35, but we can't measure from this quarter panel because we don't know where it ends up. Because we don't have a quarter panel on our new panel. So how do I know? Then I'd have to do that. We need to measure from that body line right in the center of our panel all the way over. Do you see the situation where it comes into effect that says measure twice, 3, 4 times, cut once? You can really screw yourself in the ass by doing it the wrong fucking way. Started this out measuring from this quarter panel, and we can't do that because if we do that, we don't know where this section of our new panel actually ends up versus the edge right here. So we're going to actually go from the edge right in the center of the tail light housing, and we're going to put our tape measure there, and that says it's going to be 38. So that's 38 inches, actually 38 and an eighth. We're going to keep it an even 38, so I'll just go ahead and put a line through that, which says 38 now instead of 35. And then we're going to go over to our other panel, and we're going to measure that panel back. Go ahead and tell me how much. Go ahead. We're going to measure it back 36 and a half. That'll give us an inch and a half more meat that we'll be able to hang over this, so when we come back and weld that in, because we're not welding it yet. All we're doing is prepping all this up, okay? We're just getting all this in shape. We're not going to weld that in. We're not even going to go ahead and make our flange to put it on, because all we're doing is getting everything in, because the key note to all this is this quarter panel right here. We have got to fit this quarter panel in with this panel, with the deck lid down, and everything's got to be done all at one time to make sure everything lines up. Let's go over to our panel. Let's get that cut down. Let me measure that one more time. If I go like this, okay, I'm going to take my tape measure, 38, it says 38 and almost a quarter. If we come back with our tape measure to 36 and a half, that's going to give us more than enough meat that we're going to need to get the job done right. So if we look at our panel right here, this is our right hand side, this is the left side, this is the side that we're going to be cutting off. What I'm going to do is, where's my tape measure at? I just had it in my hand. I don't know where my tape measure went. Hello? Can somebody help find my tape measure, please? I need my fucking tape measure. I got my pencil and I don't have a tape measure. How am I going to measure anything out without my tape measure? I just had it. Here it is right here. Tell you, sometimes you think your tools walk away on you and they grow legs and all this. We're going to go right in the center right here. We're going to find our center. Now remember, we're going to go ahead and add 1.5 inches on it, so we don't have to be precise. We're not going to be 1.5 inches off, but it's going to give us enough meat to play with. So we're going to go we're going to go right in the center of our tail light opening right here, as you can see that. And then I'm going to measure over, if I can keep that on there, I'm going to measure over 36 and a half. All right. And then what I'm going to do to make sure that I got a nice straight line going down, which it really doesn't matter again, as long as we can eyeball it, because we're going to have 1.5 inches of play, and there's no way that I'm going to go at an angle this way and screw things up. So if I was going to do it again to make it precise, then I would go back over there and I'd find a measuring point on this side of the quarter panel, which would probably be somewhere down here or wherever, right here in this area. And then I would make one more mark across to find another measurement and do it again. But since we're not really going to be precise because we're going to end up cutting more off, we're just trying to get the main section out. We're going to go ahead and just kind of eyeball it. We're going to kind of just eyeball it out, just like you see me doing, keeping the tape straight. Then we're going to come down here, just like this. And if you go a little bit crooked, okay, if you can't keep a nice straight line, always remember, you know, keep the crookedness over on the side that you don't give a shit about. Because if you go crooked and you go on this side, then you screwed up this panel that cost over $500, and you got to buy a new panel or modify the one that you got, and then you're really in serious problems. So what I'll do next, I'll go ahead and cut this off. I'll use my air saw to do that with. And then once that's cut off, we'll go ahead and set that section to the side. It's ready for fabrication, metal installation, you might say. And then we get to the major corporation of the situation, and we start modifying the quarter panel that we are going to use on this. And this is where it starts getting tricky, because you got to say, okay, I don't want to go into this door jamb with it. I want to make it right here on the edge, or however you're going to do it. I got to cut it here. Should I keep this, or should I throw this section away? Is this even part of the quarter panel? We don't know. And then I'm only going to use this much of it here instead of way up here. And then I got to make sure that it fits in this opening, and then of course come around and down. So this is the tricky part right here, and this is what takes the time to really measure precisely. We're not going to take any more off of this until we literally cut our quarter panel out of the quarter panel, the new piece out of the full quarter panel that we got. And then once that's done, then we'll start fitting all our pieces in. Remember, I already made this piece. It's down here on the ground. And then we'll have this piece right here. We got our deck lid installed already, precisely lined up, just like OEM factory. All right, even if we have to go back and do some adjustments with our grinders over there to give us a better gap. All right, this is set perfect. By the way, I just want to let everybody know, to get that set exactly proper like I did, it took me and Minnie, the body shop girl, around 45 minutes to an hour, 15 minutes to do that. So that's one of them jobs that you really got to take your time and just keep on adjusting it, keep on adjusting it. And let me show you one more tech tip. When you do finally get it fit on properly, let me show you what you need to do. Once you get it exactly where you want it, what you want to do is take your cutoff wheel or something to mark something with that's going to indent the deck lid, and just put a real light cut. You don't want to cut into the metal, but you want to mark it exactly where that hinge lines up. And I'm going to tell you why you need to do this, because these holes on this hinge, they're like 3 times the size of the bolt itself. And if you look right there, you can see what I'm talking about. You can see how big the hole is and how big the washer is. It overrides. And another thing about these hinges is these hinges actually move like this. Each hinge is individual. So when we put this on here, we literally had to take this hinge, push it in to tighten it up so it would pull it back. And then we had to take this hinge and we had to push it in just a hair to see, and we had to get this thing where it would line up. So when the hinges are literally floating like they are, instead of springing around, it fit on there the right way. So very time consuming job. But this is what I'm talking about right here. This is just a light cut in the metal. It's nothing to concern yourself with, like, you know, we're cutting metal down. But what that'll do through the whole process of restoring that car, this car, it will give us a guideline of where our hinges got to go when our final installation comes to us. So let me go ahead and get this piece cut out. That'll be one section down, and then we'll go ahead and get the quarter panel out. We're going to do our measurements on it, and hopefully get down the road with this job, because this is major. This is a major situation, something that my friend Pete is sharing with you, all right, for several reasons. One of them is I'm trying to save you a lot of time and money. I'm teaching you how to do this. I'm showing you the inside tech tips and tricks of what other shops out in the world do, because they do the same thing, all right? They might do it a little bit different, or they might use a different tool to do this job, but it's basically the same thing that I'm doing. and also to give you the knowledge of learning something that I had to learn from my mistakes. The first time I ever did this was a very, very major situation, and I almost fucked it up, but I kept going. I learned from my mistakes. Well, I'm making it easy on you, the viewer, because you are learning from me so you don't make the mistakes. Let me get that cut out, and then onto the quarter panel we go.
Thanks for watching D.I.Y. Automotive School. Classes don't stop till you know everything.